So this first match, we're on the draw against an unknown opponent, and we have 4 lands, 3 spells, we have both our colors, we have some early plays, we have a late game play, so this is definitely a keepable hand. And then as it turns out, the opponent is on Abzan tokens. So now our turn 2 play, since we're against a token deck, I think we want to play Heart of Kiran, especially once we have the goggles, because then we can play goggles, Chaser, and Crew the Heart. So things are looking okay at this point. The opponent really needs some sort of cast out for our Heart of Kiran, because they have a real weakness to flyers. Can't fumigate away a Heart of Kiran. But they do have stuff going on. They have the treasure map, they have the hidden stockpile. So really all they're lacking at this point is the anointed procession. And so we need to try to kill them before they get that. So by playing the dragon, it forces them to really have the fumigate. Otherwise they're just going to lose to the dragon. They don't, but they do have the anointed procession. So we're going to get a good hit in here with the Heart of Kiran and the Free Jam Regent. Move the equipment over, get more damage in, pump, attack, take 9, go to 6. Now we're going to stop it here in a second. So the opponent plays Vraska and kills our dragon. So now it's kind of interesting. They attack us here, which is going to put them to 5. We're going to stop it again on our turn. So they transform their land, they have an Odonto fort, and now let's think about this. So let's solve this board state here. The opponent killed our dragon, they have all their things going on, they have the double hidden stockpile, they're making a bunch of tokens, they have anointed procession, they have the Odonto land flipped, we're at 14, so we're probably going to be dead in a couple turns. Vraska can basically deal with any of our stuff, it's probably going to deal with the Heart of Kiran next turn. The opponent's at 5. What do we do here? Well, we could play Unclaimed Territory, and we could play the Glorybringer. We could attack the opponent down to 1. We could attack Vraska to kill Vraska, so then it leaves us with lethal the following turn. Heart of Kiran can only hit for 4. Glorybringer can only hit for 4, and we are 1 mana short of being able to play Glorybringer and also moving the goggles onto the Chaser to Crew the Heart, or onto the Glorybringer. So we can't really get 5 points of damage in here if we play the Glorybringer. So there is a solution to this puzzle. The opponent's only got 1 card in hand and has Treasure, Odonto. So really there's nothing in this deck outside of maybe Fatal Push that we could be worried about here. But they're down to their last card, and they have that Vraska that's threatening. Do we want to let them sack a bunch of tokens and scry a bunch with Stockpile? Because they're going to have access to a lot of cards. They're going to be able to basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have 7 lands and 2 treasures, so it's like 9 mana and basically an endless amount of servos. So 9 mana, they need to keep 5 up for Fumigate, so they get to scry once in their end step and then 4 times on their upkeep and then their draw step. So they have access to 6 cards, and then even if they wanted to, they could target something. If we don't kill Vraska, they could target something like the Heart of Kiran with the Vraska to get another treasure, so that's a 7th card that they could scry for. So they could basically look at 7 cards to try to find a Fumigate or any other answer to our Glorybringer, like a cast out or whatnot. So basically if we let the opponent have another turn, we're almost certainly going to lose this game, just based on their scry power and the fact that they have an active Vraska. So we really need to kill them on this turn, and there is a way to kill them. There's no way to play around Fatal Push by killing them this turn, but it forces them to have the Fatal Push in hand, and if they don't have it, they lose. And if they do have it, then I don't think we're really going to win with any line we take because, like I said, they have access to like 7 cards a turn from this point on. So we really need to kill them. And the way to do that, as you'll see, you put Goggles onto the Chaser to then have 3 power to crew the Heart of Kirin. And then we do one more thing. We move the Goggles over to the Heart of Kirin. And then you attack for 5. And that's lethal. And the opponent did not have the Fatal Push, so they conceded. So that's kind of a line that, I mean, it's on board, so it should be obvious, but it's not really obvious sometimes to think of, okay, equip my creature so that it's big enough to crew my other creature, my vehicle, and then move that Goggles over to the vehicle to attack for exactly lethal. Especially when you have like access to 6 mana and a Glorybringer in hand, it's just it's really a play that it's probably not going to be the first one that stands out to you, but you really need to think about it and know that that was the right line, and it won us the game. So that was game 1 against Abzan tokens. So now we're going to go to game 2. The way we sideboarded, in fact, let's look at that. Based on feedback from the first video set, people suggested to do this. So how we sideboard for Abzan tokens is the same way we sideboard for any control deck. And I do consider the token decks to be control decks because they're based on Fumigate. Fumigate and then basically having inevitability as the game goes on. So we sideboard in 4 Negate, 1 Spell Pierce, 1 Heart of Kirin, and we bring out the some of the removal spells. We bring out the Abrade, we bring out the Glorybringers because the Glorybringers really don't have anything other than a token to kill. They're pretty good against Vraska, but if they just tick up Vraska to 8, it's going to take like 3 turns of Glorybringer hits to try to kill it. So Glorybringer is just kind of the most lackluster threat. One of the ways we can lose this matchup is by just having too many big casting cost dragons in hand. Really the way we want to win is by playing out aggressive creatures, having flyers, and then using some counter spells to counter like a Fumigate, Anointed Procession, a Vraska, just counter their key cards, kind of play a tempo game. I think that's the best strategy against this deck. So the last card we're going to take out is just one of the Walking Ballistas. Ballista's good in this matchup, but it's not outstanding, and since our plan is to try to counter their Anointed Procession, they're likely not going to get a bunch of tokens going. So the Ballista really playing it for, say, 2 counters is going to kill their servo or whatnot, or just finish off the opponent. So it's a reasonable card, but I think it's better than Glorybringer. But it's our next worst card, I think. Braid has 1 target, has the map, but it's unclear even how many copies of the map they play. And other than that, it's just really pretty bad. So we just want to bring in the counter spells in the Heart of Kirin and take out our worst cards. So that's how we sideboard. Back to the game. So our hand is pretty reasonable. Now we didn't play Bomat Courier here because we want to counter their hidden stockpile if they have it on turn 2. Like the Bomat Courier is not attacking into the Vampire token because they'll just trade, and the opponent will be ecstatic about that trade. So there's no reason really to get the Bomat Courier online this turn. It's not like we're setting up for a 3rd turn Maverick Thopterist. I mean, we could try to go Courier, Heart, and if we draw Thopterist, we could play it on turn 3. But I don't even think we want to do that, because if we're playing Thopterist on turn 3, then they're going to play Anointed Procession on turn 4, and they're just going to beat us. So even if we do draw the Thopterist, we're not on that plan. We're on the plan of let the game kind of drag out a little bit and counter their key spells, and start casting our threats with counter backup. So that's why we didn't play the Bowmat Courier here. We're leaving up Spell Pierce to try to counter the stockpile. See if that works out. It didn't because they played Anointer Priest instead. So now there's nothing on turn 3 that we want to Spell Pierce. Since they didn't play the stockpile, I think it's less likely that they have it. And so we really can't just give them infinite time either. So we just play out the Heart of Kiran, and then we're going to basically now be in territory of being able to leave up mana and play threats. And the card that really is the problem is Anointed Procession. So we have to counter the Anointed Procession. If we let them have a hidden stockpile, like that's fine. It's not the end of the world. It's worth not casting the Bowmat Courier on turn 1 to try to Spell Pierce it, but it's not worth trying to just leave mana up for the rest of the game, just to get rid of a stockpile. The problem card is Anointed Procession. So this turn, we play the Bowmat Courier instead of playing the Pia and activating the Heart. We'd rather save that for the following turn. So now this turn, they get an attack in. And then do they have the Anointed Procession? Oh, they do. And we use Negate to counter it because we want to play the Pia next turn and attack with Heart. Then we could still Spell Pierce their second copy of Anointed Procession. Or their Fumigate, if that's what they have. So this gets in a good attack. And then they have Fumigate. And guess what? We have 1 mana up for Spell Pierce. So we played that, I think, about as perfectly as we could. We left up Spell Pierce to play around the hidden stockpile, which they didn't have, but that's fine. We didn't really lose any tempo off it. We played the Heart of Kiran and gave them a free turn 3 to cast whatever they want, because there's nothing really good on turn 3 that this deck can produce that we really need to counter anyway. And then on turn 3, we just played a Bowmat Courier and left up Negate mana to counter their Anointed Procession, which they had, and we countered. Then the following turn, that allowed us to play the Pia, crew the Heart, attack with the Heart and the Courier, and leave up Spell Pierce mana, which they had the Fumigate, which would counter that. And then at that point they conceded. I think it was a little premature, but on our turn we were going to play the Free Jam Regent, tapping the 5 mana and the Courier, and then using the Free Jam to crew the Heart and attacking for 5 in the air. Puts the opponent to 12, and then we have lethal the following turn. So the opponent wasn't quite dead, and it was a little premature of a concession, but we basically put ourselves in a commanding board position where the opponent just really is on the back foot and had their 2 key spells countered. And we didn't really lose much tempo in doing so. That's really the power of cheap counter spells in the form of Negate and Spell Pierce. So that's what happened this round. Let's try round 2.